Christmas was always supposed to be a time for family, warmth, and hope. But for Mark Wilson, it had become a reminder of what he didn't have. His wife, Sarah, had passed away, leaving him to raise their two kids, Lily and Ben, alone. Money was tight, and despite his best efforts, the holidays never felt right. But this year, he promised his kids it would be different. Even if they couldn't afford much, they would make the most of Christmas. One snowy evening, as Mark was cleaning up after dinner, there was a knock at the door. Surprised, he opened it to find a small, neatly wrapped gift on the doorstep. There was no card, no sender, just a simple box with a red ribbon. Confused, Mark picked it up and brought it inside. "What's that, Dad?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know," Mark said, trying to hide his unease. "Let's see." He untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside was a small wooden toy train, beautifully hand-carved with intricate details. But what caught his eye wasn't the train. It was the note written in perfect script. "From a secret Santa, a gift for your family, to make your Christmas special." Mark felt a strange warmth in his chest. Maybe this Christmas would be different after all. He smiled and handed the toy to Lily. "Let's put it under the tree." That night, as they all sat around the fire, the toy train was placed on the mantel. For the first time in a long while, Mark felt a flicker of hope. He watched as Lily and Ben drifted off to sleep, eager for Christmas morning. But soon things began to feel off. The toy train started to move. At first, Mark thought it was nothing. Maybe one of the kids had touched it, but they both swore they hadn't. The next morning, the train was on the floor, far from where they had left it. Mark dismissed it, thinking it was just the wind. But it kept happening. The train would move on its own, sometimes even appearing in places it shouldn't be. On the kitchen counter, on the edge of his bed. Then the whispers started. One night, while Mark was putting Ben to bed, he heard faint voices coming from the living room. At first, he dismissed it as the wind or his imagination, but as the whispers grew louder, he realized they were words, low, unintelligible whispers. He rushed to the living room, heart pounding in his chest. The toy train was on the floor, spinning rapidly, as if an invisible hand was turning it. The air grew cold, and Mark's breath became visible in the freezing room. He crouched down, terrified, and noticed something etched into the wood of the train. Greed. A chill ran down his spine. This wasn't just a toy, it was something far darker, feeding off his desires, his longing for a better life, for a perfect Christmas. The next day, more strange things began happening. Expensive gifts appeared, fancy clothes, a new TV, a gaming console for the kids. Mark hadn't bought any of it, yet it was there, filling their small apartment. Lily's new dollhouse whispered to her at night. Ben's gaming console began showing images of people he didn't recognize, faces that looked almost familiar. The toy train grew darker, its carved symbols twisting with each passing day. Mark realized too late that the gifts weren't meant to bring joy. They were part of something much darker, something feeding off their desires. It wasn't just about the material things. It was about greed, about wanting more than what they deserved. One night, Mark decided he had had enough. He grabbed the toy train, determined to destroy it. As soon as his hands touched the cold wood, the room went icy. The shadows in the corners of the apartment seemed to stretch and move, whispering in voices too low to understand. The walls began to close in, and Mark felt a pressure on his chest. "You wanted more," a voice hissed, so close he could feel its icy breath. "Now you'll have it, forever." Panic surged through Mark as he realized the terrible truth. This was no ordinary gift. It was a curse, a creature that thrived on their desires, on their greed. And now it had claimed them all. He turned to Lily and Ben, eyes wide with fear, and tried to shout for them to run. But it was already too late. The shadows engulfed them, the train spinning faster, its whispers now deafening. And then, silence. The next morning, the apartment was empty. No sign of Mark or his children remained, but the toy train was back on the doorstep, the same red ribbon tied around it. A new note was attached. A gift for your family to make your Christmas special. The curse had moved on, and if you want to hear the chilling story of 9 hikers who mysteriously vanished, only to have their bodies discovered in the freezing snow, click here.